Taking the product straight to the customer was also the technique used by Wilfred Emmanuel-Jones on launching his Black Farmer brand, as he understood the influence the consumer had over the UK's major retailers.
What I'm going to do is that I'm going to travel the whole country with a roadshow and do a massive sampling program. Now, a lot of you people would do sampling. It's one of the things you do to get people to try your product. But I said I'd do a sampling program, and at the same time, on my website, I have a petition page. And I have a petition page with all the supermarkets and all the buyers and all the customer services numbers. And that when I would then sample the product, is that if people loved it, I would say, I desperately need you to do me a favor. I need you to write to the customer services people and say, why aren't you stocking the Black Farmer products? And as God is my witness, that's how I got my listing, because the only thing that the supermarkets really care about are their customers. So if their customers go out there and they ask for that product, they will actually list that product. And so the vital lesson in that is this, is that the greatest sales force you could ever have is the customer, is the consumer. And if the consumer like your brand and they really like you, they will work extremely hard for you. And if you look at some of the very successful brands out there, you know, Goo, Innocence, the Black Farmer, one of the things that we're all very, very good at is really looking after our customers. And they are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant in what they will go to war for you. I'll give you an example. We were listing our product in Shetland, and one lady wrote to say that, you know, I've been buying your product and suddenly I can't find it. I want to go and protest. I want to write to somebody to get this sorted out. So obviously I gave her the name of the right people to write to, and she wrote to them, and 2 weeks later those products were back in that store. And that is the greatest lesson, is that you really need to look after your customer.
Mike Grandinetti is also a big believer in the power of the consumer. Just like Wilfred Emmanuel-Jones, he believes that harnessing customer power is one of the most effective ways of getting your message out into the marketplace.
As you begin to think about how you promote your businesses, how you get the word out, you need to enlist others in your cause. Others who have more global recognition, others who have more credibility, others who have more access to the media. And the only way that you can do that without paying them off, right? Because paying them off is not the answer. Buying their loyalty is not the answer. Because everyone's going to figure out very quickly in this internet era, and we're seeing this in the pharmaceutical industry, we're seeing this in so many other examples where, you know, your loyalties, if they're bought, buy the company nothing. You need to convert your customers into raving lunatics and advocates and enthusiasts for what you do. And if you're taking good care of your customers and you're really delivering them something of value and you're supporting them, you are going to create enthusiasts. And just like we saw in this video, you need to capture their testimony. You need to bring their positive, enthusiastic remarks to your website, to your marketing collateral, to capture them on video, and to make that extremely powerful, highly impactful. How many people are using stuff like that today? How many people are using packaged customer testimonial in your marketing efforts? Anybody using that today? And what's the experience? How do you convey that stuff? How are you getting it out there?
It's small brochures, flyers, things like that.
Okay, and are they online as well? So can people come to your website, for example, and see customer statements about your different products and services?
Yes.
And is it hard getting permission from your customers to offer those?
Nope.
No? Okay, others that haven't raised their hand, why aren't you using it, I guess is the question, right? Why? Because I think it's the single most important way to promote your own companies is to let your customers and other external enthusiasts do it on your behalf.
When marketing your business or trying to sell your product to others, it's important to target specific groups. This includes the language you use, because as Mike Grandinetti explains, different groups communicate in different ways.
How many people have an elevator pitch that they're comfortable with? I mean, if someone was to ask you about your business, could you, in 60 seconds or less, in a very succinct way, convey what it is that you do in a way that is empathetic with your customer? So it talks about how you're solving a customer's problem or enhancing a customer's life, whether it be in a business or a consumer setting, that can differentiate yourself from a competitor or a group of competitors, and that can be somewhat flexible. So whether you're talking to someone who cares more about a manufacturing perspective or a financial perspective or a sales perspective, right? So that you're being very empathetic, right? Because language matters, right? And the word clan, I think, started here in Scotland, but we're all still members of clans or tribes. In many cases, the tribes we belong to today are the industries that we're in, or the functional roles, right? Accounting people hang out together. Public relations people hang out together, right? There's a set of phrases, there's a taxonomy, a shared language, which is how they communicate. And our ability to speak across the aisle to our customer in the language that matters most to them, using the words that are most impactful to them, has an incredibly profound effect on how they respond to what we're saying. I can tell you in one of my ventures, one of my colleagues went in to the vice president of supply chain of the large office retailer known as Staples. It's a global dominant brand. And went in, and because the individual that was my colleague came from the manufacturing industry, he was using manufacturing industry examples as a way to explain what it was we did. Being the typical Americans that the CIO and the VP of supply chain at Staples were, they threw him out of the office. And they said, "You're being very disrespectful to me. You clearly haven't done your homework, right? You're using manufacturing language. You walk through the front here. You know we're a retailer. Get out." Well, a year later, we wound up going back to Staples, but we did it with a very retail-centric approach, right? Using a lot of retail industry knowledge that we'd accumulated, giving our product the veneer of a retail-specific solution, using language that mattered to retail. And we sold the same exact product to Staples a year later for $5 million USD.
In a tough economic climate, how much should you spend on your marketing? As Mike Grandinetti points out, thanks to the internet, every business can market itself without having to spend a small fortune.
I know it's tough. I know access to capital is not an easy thing here. What you're all blessed with is this thing called the internet. And if you haven't picked up a book on social media, using forums, using communities, using blogs, our friends here from the Distance Media Lab will be sure to, I'm sure they'd be happy to educate you on state-of-the-art techniques. But all of a sudden, what used to cost tens or hundreds of millions of dollars is essentially free. Now, it's not really free because it requires strategy and time. But you can get your message across. You can literally shoot fish in a barrel. You can identify communities of interest online in either generic places like Google or Yahoo or more specialized industry-centric places. And you can begin to engage in a very important dialogue with people from all over the world that care deeply about what you do. And all you have to do is just want to go do it and participate, right? Woody Allen said 90% of it is just showing up. And for that, he's right. It really is just showing up. So don't forget about online media, social media, all that stuff. It's very powerful.
It's clear that by spending a little time researching the market, listening to your customers, and thinking carefully about how your business fits into the grand scheme of things, marketing can have a huge impact on the growth of your business. For more information on marketing, visit www.learning-works.co.uk and search under Quick Tips in the information section. There you will find a number of resources, including useful guidelines on creating a brand, advertising, and building customer loyalty. Well, thanks for listening. Next month we'll be taking a look at new technology and the impact it's having on a number of businesses from across the region.